unexpected visitor. A winter passed, and then another summer, and Heidi's second winter on the mountain was nearly over. Was now 7 and learned many useful things from her grandfather. She visited Peter's grandmother and granny every week, and had come to love both women very much. Heidi felt content and peaceful in the mountain home. Twice during the winter, Peter had brought up messages from the schoolmaster in Durfley to say that Uncle Alf must send Heidi to school, but the old man refuses to answer the note and told Peter that he had no intention of sending Heidi to school. One March morning, just when the sun began to melt the snow on the slopes, Heidi saw an old man standing outside the hut. He was dressed in black and looked very solemn. He looked at her and said, "Don't be afraid of me. I'm fond of children. Come and shake hands. You must be Heidi. And where's your grandfather?" "He's indoors making wood spoons," she told him and showed him in. He was old pastor from Durfley, who was a neighbor of Uncle Alp's. When he had lived there, he came to tell Uncle Alp that time that Heidi went to school, but the old man insisted that Heidi would be better living off on the mountains and learning and growing with the birds and animals, instead of going off to school where she might learn bad ways. But the pastor insisted that Uncle Alp return to the village so Heidi would be able to begin school in the winter. Uncle Alp shook the pastor's hand, but said slowly, "I know what you mean, and the child's going to mean about the child's going to school, but I can't do what you ask. That's final. I won't send her to school or come back to the village to live." The pastor shook his head sadly, and walked slowly down the hill. All this left Uncle Alp in a bad mood, and he hardly said a word to Heidi all day. The next morning, while the old man was still in his bad mood, there was a knock at the door. This time was Dainty. She was wearing a hat and feathers and a long dress and swept the ground as she walked. Uncle Alp looked up and down in silence. "How well Heidi looks," she said. "I hardly recognize her. Of course, I have been meaning to come back for her, but for 2 years I have been just so busy I haven't had a chance to return." Then Dainty went on to explain that all the time she had been away, she was looking for a proper home for Heidi. Now she had finally found one. There was a rich family who lived in the city. There was a younger daughter who was paralyzed and spent all her time sitting in a wheelchair. The girl was very lonely, and the family had been looking for a playmate and companion for her. So Dainty immediately thought of Heidi and came straight away to bring her back to the city. The old man said that he wouldn't part with the child, but then did not stop Dainty. She became quite angry and Uncle Alp and told him how had heard in the village about his refusal to send Heidi to the school. She threatened to take him to court if she was stopped from taking Heidi with her. The old man got very angry. "That's enough," he thundered. "Take her then and spoil her, and don't bring her back to me. I don't want to see her with a feather in her hat and hear her talk to me as you have done today." Then he strode away. Heidi looked very unhappy and went to run after the old man. Heidi grabbed her and told her to pack her clothes and prepare to leave. Heidi refuses, but Heidi told the child that the old man wanted her to leave for the city. When Heidi still refuses to go, Heidi promised that she could buy nice presents for Granny and return to the mountains wherever she wanted to. This sounded better to Heidi, and she daydreamed about surprising Granny with some soft white rolls from the city. A fashionable house in the city. Chapter